from Humber that will introduce himself and talk about his project.
Hi, hey everybody, how's it going? My name is LeBlanc, I'm with Humber College, and today I'm here to present to you the brain-computer interfaces that me and my team have been working on. So we only got about 5-10 minutes here, so without further ado, let's get started. So, number one, what is a brain-computer interface, or BCI? Well, a BCI is any combination of hardware and software that uses your brain for input into a computer program. So, as you can see here, we have a very expensive fMRI machine that somebody has rigged up to play tic-tac-toe. So things like that, essentially. So, fMRI machine, that's one way to get input out of a brain, and another way is this. This is the Emotive Epoch EEG acquisition headset. So this is a headset given to us by the Canadian Association of IT Professionals. It's a wireless EEG acquisition device. So how it works is it has 14 different sensors that measure electrical activity just all along the scalp, and again, it's wireless to the computer. And then in with the software packages are C++, .NET, Java, MATLAB, and Python libraries. So this is the way that we're getting input from your brain. So what kind of input are we getting? So using this headset, we're measuring EEG, electroencephalograph. EEG is a measure of electrical activity generated by cells in your brain. Generally, when you do any form of cognitive function, motor activity, you'll generate an EEG. Often, EEG targets specific regions of the brain, which clearly was not the case. And in this picture here, they kind of just went for the try 'em all method. But typically, with EEG, you want to try to target specific regions. So, for example, if you're doing visual stimulation, you want to put your sensors on the occipital area in your brain, which is your visual processor. So generally you target, and then sensors are placed along the scalp, and they return to us raw data in millivolts. So this is what we're reading, but now a little more specifically, this is what we're looking for. So this is a specific wave called the P300 wave, and the easiest way to describe how this wave is generated is it's generated by when the user experiences a rare but expected event. So bear with me here. So typically when you want to generate a P300 wave, you have a user and you show him some form of stimulation, and you tell him to be aware of an event that's going to occur. Now this event is rare, but it is expected to occur within the trials. When the user experiences that rare event, that kind of aha moment he has where he says, oh, that's the event, that's what essentially generates a P300. So using this wave and using this technology, so this is what's known as a P300 speller. So here we have one of our researchers, Mike Willen, and so how it works is we have a 6x6 grid of alphabet letters. Mike stares at the letter he wants to spell, and so what we do is we flash the rows and the columns of the grid randomly. In this case, the rare event is when the letter he's trying to spell, when the row flashes and then the column flashes directly after it. That's the rare event that he's looking for. So now this video is sped up. The initial trial took about anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes, and I have this video sped up to about a minute. So if you watched it in regular speed, you would see the rare event occurring anywhere from 8 to 10 times per letter. The algorithm picks that up and essentially puts the letter on the screen. There are ways to improve it. Again, it took us about 3 minutes to spell Gamer Camp. I've seen some videos where people are spelling words like Beijing in under a minute. You know, there are definitely ways that you can make it faster. A lot of them have to do with the various filters that you're putting through the wave. You get a lot of garbage, you know, a lot like if you, let's say for example you're using all 14 sensors and not just say 4 in the occipital area, you might be getting garbage results from say the front. You might be getting your heartbeat if your heart's beating. You might get blinks, you might get head movements. So there's a lot of different things that can affect the quality of the signal and of the wave as well. So there are definitely ways to improve that. So that P300 was kind of a proof of concept when we first got the headset. So the question now is, how do you integrate this with mainstream gaming? So biofeedback devices have been around in gaming for a little while now, but nobody's really made a splash in the market yet. You know, the only 2 examples I could really find in mainstream gaming was, you know, the Wii Vitality sensor, and well, we all know how many people bought that. And the only other example I could find was in a new Xbox One camera, they're going to be able to tell your heartbeat. But these are both pretty basic things, you know, like your heartbeat is is a nice metric to get. You can differ a lot of different things from it, but you are limited. With EEG, however, to me, EEG is more of a framework. The data that you're getting out of this headset all depends on where in the brain you're looking and what exactly you're looking for. Using EEG, you can use auditory cues, visual cues. There's so many different ways that you can integrate EEG into a video game. So what are we going to do? So our goal with integrating EEG into gaming was to map directions to EEG signals. Well, why? Because we think controlling the game with your brain is pretty cool. There's numerous methods that we could already think to try. And the other thing is, if we had success in this field, we have the ability to extend our research to the mobility sector, which, as our picture here, you see it as the wheelchair controlled by EEG, which is totally feasible. So the question remains, how? How are we going to do this? Well, a couple of the ideas that we had when we first started thinking about this idea was, well, we could train a user to perhaps recall a certain emotion. So, oh, you think happy thoughts to turn right, you know, or think about a motor function. You can think about moving your right arm, or you can even physically move your right arm to generate the same kind of wave. But we decided to go with actually neither of those options, mainly because we wanted a way to do it that required no training. Those two methods there are 100% feasible, and they would be accurate as well, but it would involve hours and days and weeks of training your user to get your optimal results. So the technique we decided to go with instead is this, and it's called SSVEP. So got a little video here. So this is just a quick little space where we made an XNA using SSVEP, which stands for Steady State Visual Evoked Potential. So how it works is we have two stimuli on either side of the screen. Now they're flashing at different hertz. Now the one on the left is flashing roughly between 10 and 11 hertz, and the one on the right is flashing, I believe, somewhere within the range of 35 to 40 hertz. So when your user is staring at stimuli which is flashing or oscillating within the range of 3.5 to 75, the brainwaves generated in your occipital area, which is, again, that's your vision processing center in the back, the brainwaves are actually going to start to synchronize with the stimuli. So it'll synchronize, it'll either be exactly at 3.5 or in multiples of it. So basically Mike just stares at the right side of the screen, the algorithm averages his wave, figures out the frequency of it, and then just basically picks which direction to go. And this method we found we were getting probably about 60%, anywhere from 50 to, let's say, low 70% accuracy. There are always ways you can make things better. A lot of them have to do with whatever filters you're putting over your wave and stuff like that. So there's always ways to make it better. So this was kind of a pros and cons list that we've been working with the EEG and the emotive headset now for probably roughly about 4 months. That BCI speller that you first saw, that took about 2 months to get set up. And then the last thing you saw, I mean, the world itself took maybe about a week to build, but the SSVEP implementation took a lot longer. So these are just kind of the pros and cons that we whipped up in terms of integrating EEG into mainstream gaming. So pros, it's a new level of game interaction completely untapped in this market. There are no biofeedback devices in mainstream gaming today. So that's obviously one pro. The flexibility of EEG allows for numerous ways to interact with only one device. You have things like the Wii Vitality sensor, again, they just do heart rate, that's it. Now there are different things you could probably defer from heart rate, there are different ways you can use it, but with EEG it's a completely different ballgame. Again, there's potentials for games targeted towards users with disabilities. You know, paraplegics, quadriplegics, people who can't move. We can put an EEG headset on them and obviously make different games. And you saw what we can do with it. It's hard to explain what exactly you would make with EEG. You know, it's kind of explaining what you would make with C++. You know, it's just a whole world of stuff you could potentially make. The possibilities are endless. And high quality headsets are getting cheaper and more accurate. So the emotive headset, which is a 14 sensor, the entire package, so the headset as well as all the SDKs and the software suites, is just over $1,000. Now, if you go to something a little more like, let's say, hospital quality, you could be spending tens of thousands. Before we got this headset, we were actually using a $150 version. It was called the Mindwave Mobile, and it had one sensor right on your forehead. Now, we weren't getting, obviously, optimal results with it, but we were still able to do a few, EEG exercises. So those are our pros. Now let's take a look at cons. So now this entire list, except with the exception of the last one, is the reason we're not doing any live demos this weekend. So electrical interference from everyday object plays a huge role. Cell phones, routers, they can all affect your signal quality. At our office, where we do most of this work, we actually have the dongle on a 25-foot USB extension hanging from the ceiling, as that's the only way we can get the best signal. And then the user requires extensive training for best results. Now, not necessarily for the SSVEP, but especially for the P300 speller. The user needs to go through it at least, like 10 times, 20 times, to really get the feel of that rare event and really feel when it clicks. Because once you start doing that P3 for 1-2 months, you really do feel. As soon as you see that rare event, you're like, oh, and you feel it, and you see it on the graph. So user training gives you the best results. A calm and quiet environment is also extremely key. And then this is also the case for SSVEP. SSVEP requires no training, but if we try to have somebody doing it here, with all the noise, people are yelling at you, talking to you, you're not going to have the concentration that you need to get the results that we're looking for. So those are pretty much all of that, and it's still too expensive at this point to expect the mainstream to buy. Like I said, my headset is just over $1,000, which is, that's like 2 consoles right there. And the $150 version is more manageable, but it does not give you the accuracy that you would want to make something really easy. So I believe I'm just about out of time by now, so that's it. If you guys have any questions, me and our neuro specialist, Mike Willem, we're going to be at the Humber booth just behind you, so feel free to come around and ask us any questions. And we'll also be here the next 2 days showing off a few other games that we've made. They're not EEG, it's just a few mobile games and PC games. Again, thank you very much for coming out, and enjoy the rest of the show.